What's up everybody, welcome to my docu-series on the Xbox. This series is going to be broken up into several parts and we're going to dive into the history behind Microsoft's first gaming console, the Xbox, to the current model. Let's begin. In 2001, the Xbox was released to the world. Following up from the downfall of SEGA in the year 2000, nobody gave Xbox a chance, especially in an industry ruled by Japan. This will make Microsoft the American flag bearer in creating home consoles since the Atari Jaguar in 1993. But before we continue, let's go back to the beginning where it all started. 1975. Microsoft was started by Bill Gates and Paul Allen. 1980. In Japan, Microsoft released the first console, MSX, a proposed standardized format for computer gaming consoles backed by Microsoft and manufactured by other companies. Sony was among them. MSX began selling in Japan. It is known for its games like Contra, Its flaw was being manufactured. Microsoft had the idea of the MSX, but companies didn't make enough due to the limited expenses and resources in the 80s. And to make things worse, the Famicom was just released making waves, selling 40 million, making the MSX close up shop. The product became just a memory. 1998. Before the Xbox, Microsoft found success publishing video games for its PCs, releasing titles such as Microsoft Flight Simulator,
Blue Sky 737 cleared to the Haneda Airport via Chiba Reversal 4 departure.
Pinball Arcade.
It's the most authentic pinball action ever on a PC with no...
Microsoft Golf.
All-time best-selling golf game for Windows just got better. One swing and you'll be...
Half-Life. Fallout 2.
The facts that should reassure and encourage you. Be ready to
Age of Empire.
Comes Age of Empires, from the Stone Age.
And even Bill Gates created a game called Donkey. With all these games being popular for the PC at the time, you would think that would be enough. Most video games were being played on the gaming consoles. To give you a brief history, in 1997 and 1998, these were PC's competition. The 64, the Sega Saturn, and the PlayStation 1. Mega Man Legends, Tekken 3, Gran Turismo, Resident Evil 2, and Final Fantasy 7. Donkey Kong 64. Mario Kart 64. Star Fox 64.
This is Peppy, all barrel roll.
GoldenEye 007. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Bomberman. Shining Force 3. Sega Rally Championship. Virtua Fighter 2. Radiant Silvergun.
新型戦闘機3機を搭載しているとはいえ、今回の
At the time with all these releases, the PlayStation 1 was a top console dominating the market with its games and graphics and its edgy content. Sony was working on its next console, the PlayStation 2, and was officially announced to the public March 2nd, 1998, and was intended as a gateway for all type of home consoles and entertainment. Gates, seeing Sony's success with the PlayStation 1 and seeing the upcoming PlayStation 2 as a threat to Microsoft's line of PCs, worrying that the PlayStation 2 could eliminate people's interest in the PCs and drive them out of the market. With video games rapidly growing into a massive industry, Gates decided that Microsoft needed to venture into the gaming console market in order to compete with Sony. 4 engineers from Microsoft DirectX team, Kevin Backus, Samus Blackley, Ted Hayes, and DirectX team leader Otto Berkes began discussing ideas for a new console which will run off Microsoft DirectX technology. Nat Brown, the Windows software architect for Microsoft, would also become a regular contributor to the project after the meeting with Hayes in 1998. To better understand Microsoft's DirectX team, you need to understand how it came about and why it was needed for the Xbox success. Since the early days of video game development, game developers had to rely on detailed knowledge of the video game hardware they were working with. This knowledge came with lots of studying, testing, and experiments. For example, to create some of the earliest games, such as Pong or Asteroids, game designers had to have a good understanding of what each chip on the game motherboard could give them. They needed to know how much memory they had to work with, what colors were available, and how to produce them. In some cases, they had to go to manufacturers and ask for help designing chips to achieve what they wanted to accomplish. Then was DOS. Early DOS games required knowledge of machines and assembly languages to access the operating system. As time went on, more user-friendly languages were created. Then came Windows. Windows was originally designed for home and office, not for multimedia development. It lacked the few essential items that had become standard in the multimedia market. For example, graphic speed, which could no longer be achieved in the Windows environment as it has been in the DOS. Finally was DirectX. DirectX was just initially for the computer game industry. As DirectX developed, Microsoft has added network support, feedback support, and 3D graphic capabilities. DirectX team has continued to increase the capabilities of this remarkable software library. 1999, the creation of the Xbox. The project was codenamed Midway, in reference to the Battle of Midway during World War II, in which Japan was defeated by American forces as a representation of Microsoft's desire to surpass Sony in the console market. DirectX team held their first development meeting on March 30th, 1999, in which they discussed issues such as getting a PC to boot at a quicker pace than usual. The console would run off Microsoft 2000 using DirectX 8.1, which would allow PC developers to easily transition into making games for the console, also granting it a larger processing power than that of most other home consoles. According to Blackley, using PC technology as a foundation for a video game console would eliminate technical barriers of most home consoles, allowing creators to expand further on their own creativity without having to worry about hardware limitations. The 4 DirectX team members encountered disagreements along the way with Silicon Valley engineers behind WebTV. Microsoft executive Craig Mundell wanted the project to be led by WebTV's team, who believed the console should be built from the ground up as an appliance running off the Windows CE. Windows CE at the time was established by being on laptops and some handheld devices. However, DirectX team were adamant about the idea of repurposing PC hardware components such as hard disk drive, arguing that they were cheaply manufactured and could be easily updated every year. They wanted something that was strong, that could last, and were dependable, also save costs. The developers gained the support of Ed Fries, the head of Microsoft Gaming Division, who believed the use of hard drive in particular would give the console a technical edge among competitors despite its high manufacturing costs. No consoles were using hard drives and only embedded RAM and memory. The 2 opposing teams pitched their arguments to Gates on May 5th, 1999 at a meeting attended by over 20 different people. WebTV's team, among them were Nick Barber, Dave Viola, Steve Perlman, and Tim Butcher, as well as their sponsor, Craig Mundell. At first, who agreed with DirectX team, now siding with WebTV, who made their case that creating an appliance would be far cheaper, highlighting that most consoles were generally being sold around $300. Their goal wanted to be less. With a hard drive, it would cost more than $300. They also wanted to use a custom-made graphics chip, which could be shared across several different home consoles. Fries, vouching for the DirectX team, argued that a PC hard drive would set consoles apart from competitors by allowing the direct implement of online access, an argument Gates sided with. Gates questioned if PC could be ported to the new console without issue. Blackley explained that the machine would utilize DirectX hardware, meaning that they could be converted easily. As a reminder that DirectX was meant for gaming PCs. Liking what he heard, Gates sided with the DirectX concept and gave Berkey's team the go-ahead to create a new console. Despite not being agreed with, Web TV would still play a part in the Xbox initial launch. The DirectX team began constructing prototype consoles, purchasing several Dell computers and using their internal parts. The DirectX team started coming up with names for the new console, such as Windows Entertainment Project, Microsoft Total Gaming, Microsoft Interactive Network Device, and Microsoft Interactive Center, DirectXbox, referring to the system's reliance on DirectX. At one point, Hayes jokingly came up with the name XXXbox and DirectXXXbox as a nod to the system's higher volume of adult entertainment compared to Sony and Nintendo's consoles. DirectXbox was quickly shortened to Xbox. Through email conversations and further talk, decided it was to be the name. Microsoft marketing department didn't like the name, suggesting 11X as an alternative. During focus testing, the company put the name Xbox on the list of possible names during focus testing. However, Xbox proved to be the more popular name on the list during consumer testing, and with that being a popular vote, it was decided the new console would be called the Xbox. When the physical design of the controller began, circuit boards for the controller had already begun being manufactured. The Duke controller, Microsoft's first design controller. Microsoft had asked Sony's supplier for a similar circuit board design used in Sony's DualShock 2 controller, but the company refused to manufacture such a design for Microsoft. This led to the controller being bulky and nearly 3 times the size of Sony's controller. This initial controller design was never launched in Japan, where the console instead launched a smaller, redesigned version called Controller S that did use the more compact circuit board design. Later that year, Bungie Studios was working on a first-person shooter game called Halo, and everyone seeing what was created was stunned as how beautiful it ran and how amazing it looked. Even Steve Jobs was amazed. It showed everyone Halo at Macworld. At the time, Halo would run off Mac OS and PC, and thought at the time it was going to be a game to put Mac OS on the gaming map. But Microsoft didn't let that happen. Gates later bought Bungie and made it an Xbox exclusive. 2000, the announcement. Gates first publicly mentioned the Xbox in an interview, stating that he wanted the system to become the best and most creative game developers in the world. It was later announced officially by Gates in a keynote presentation at Game Developers Conference on March 10, 2000, showing off an early prototype build of the system and a series of demos showcasing its hardware. The presentation and the new system were well received, impressing developers with both hard drive and Ethernet port and appealing to them within the notion of easy-to-use development tools. At the time of Gates' announcement, Sega Dreamcast sales were diminishing. Sega total sales were 10 million, 5 million in the US, 3 million in Asia, and 2 million in Europe. And Sony PlayStation 2 was just going on sale in Japan, totaling 23.18 million alone before coming to the US. Killing off Sega Dreamcast, Japan sales alone were double that of Sega's total sales. Hoping to take advantage and possibly reviving Sega for collaborations, Gates was in talk with Sega's late chairman, possibility of Xbox compatibility, but negotiations fell apart. The Xbox was officially unveiled to the public by Gates and guest professional wrestler The Rock at CES 2001 in Las Vegas on January 3rd, 2001. On November 14th, 2001, Toys R Us in Times Square, New York, hosted its official launch with the appearance of Gates himself. Microsoft announced Xbox US release date, November 15th, 2001. The price was $300 at E3 2001 in May. Most Xbox launch titles were unveiled at E3, but these were the Xbox launch titles: Shrek, Halo Combat Evolved,
one with vast, unimaginable power.
If Halo is a weapon,
Oddworld Odyssey, Dead or Alive 3, Project Gotham Racing, Delta Storm, Mad Dash Racing, Trans World Surf, Fusion Frenzy, and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Xbox first week sales in 2001 and 2002 when it was released to the rest of the world, many analysts estimated that the Xbox would have trouble competing with the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, noting its high price tag and lack of exclusives. For example, Halo. Halo was Microsoft's biggest mascot, and the lack of it around launch, many complained about its lack of exclusives, which came out 2 months later after its Japanese Xbox release, and larger size which wouldn't fit as well in living spaces. Microsoft hoped to ship 6 million Japanese Xbox consoles by June 2002. However, in November 2002, the Xbox chief in Japan stepped down, leading to its further constellations about the Xbox future, which is considered a disaster on their goal, hoping it would be 6 million. On November 15th, 2002, Microsoft launched Xbox Live online gaming service, allowing subscribers to play online Xbox games with other subscribers around the world and download new content directly to the system's hard drive. The online system works only with a broadband internet connection. In the first week of operation, 100,000 subscribers, and further grew to 250,000 subscribers within 2 months of the service launch. Microsoft wasn't the first, but definitely took full advantage of the feature, which influenced others, and that was multiplayer capabilities with games. As an example, sports games like Madden, shooters like Call of Duty, and RPGs like Phantasy Star Online 2. First to have the hard drive in the console, first to burn music from CDs and play them in the game directly. Launched in 2002, the gamertag is your alter ego in the Xbox world.
Dude, who are you talking to? Are we gonna play or what?
Patience, Grasshopper. One must learn before one can dominate.
Forget that, let's play!
Are you ready, Grasshopper?
I was born ready. My name is Chuck. You cool, dumb master?
You see, we're already signed up. It was way easy, just took a couple of minutes and we're good to go. Once you've signed up, you never have to do it again. Plus, you get to pick your gamer tag, you know, your online identity. Mine's Dark Master.
It is made from an alias, an optional avatar or picture called a gamer pic, and a bit of info to represent you when you're playing games and sharing with other people in the Xbox industry. Without wasting any time, in 2003, Xbox was working on its next console, codenamed Xenon. In 2004, Xbox Live Arcade has been released. Xbox Live Arcade made it possible by buying new console games as downloads without a trip to the store. Today, digital games are the most popular method for distributing games. Alright, so let's look at the whole analysis and summary of the Xbox. Was it a success or a failure? Look at what it's brought to the table, look at its sales, look at its high rating sales compared to other games, and look how much money it had brought in. The original Xbox was a success. It has gone to do great things. Halo 2 selling for 8.6 million, Halo Combat Evolved selling for 5 million, Fable selling for 3 million, Project Gotham 2.5, and Grand Theft Auto Double Pack. With that being said, say what you want about the Xbox, came in as the underdog, proved itself to be a force to be paid attention to, and has the backing by $1 billion company. So what's next for the Xbox? What is the Xeon? Tune in to part 2 to find out. Subscribe. Thanks for watching. This is Devin Up, and I'm out.